This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's actually kind of nice out, I guess. It's cold. Maybe not as cold as the last couple of days, but it's still a little overcast, little that sort of muted gray light over everything. I'm sure it'll brighten up later, but it's beautiful in its own way. Sort of like an ugly duckling. But it'll blossom. It'll blossom into a beautiful swan. Unless the rain clouds roll in. Either way. Hope you're all doing well this morning. Who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning? The Alexander. Good morning. Walter Tomaszewski. Good morning to you. And Walter says, Scribe, my cats think you're funny and want to know where you are hiding foodie. Little known fact, I don't deal with my own food supplies here on the moon base. That's all Dog Cat Fox's job. Right, Dog Cat Fox? Yeah, so I don't know. I can't fend for myself. I've delegated all of this to Dog Cat Fox. So if your cats want to know where my food is, they'll have to talk to Dog Cat Fox, and he doesn't play well with others. So at your own risk, do you put your putty cats in front of Dog Cat Fox? I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, Advocast Diabli. Good morning. Keeverdam, good morning to you. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link to our donation page at the top of the chat box to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I've said it before, but I'll keep saying it again. Last year, it's almost a year now, another couple of months, my father was diagnosed with leukemia. We legitimately thought we were not going to see him much longer after that. Things were not looking good, and in the ensuing months, things seemed to get worse. But I can happily say right now, he is still with us, and he's doing well. And hopefully, if estimates are true, and I just found this out the other day, and of course, you know, things have a way of going one way or the other, but if estimates are true, he might be around for another 3 to 5 years or more. We don't know. So, fingers crossed, knock Formica. Either way, certainly the treatment that he's received for his condition has helped. And so if you have the opportunity, please take a look at that donation page. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you, Keeverdam, and thank you, everybody, for considering a donation. Shady Grin, good morning. Mike Savage, good morning to you. Faustonia, hello. Who else is here? Datura Jones, good morning. Jill Powers, the River Daughter, good morning. Somnamnul Nation, good morning. Shio Gorath, good morning to you. Mike R, good morning. TF good morning. Kiro Soldier, happy Sunday to you. The Best Remy, hello. Dom O'Leary, hello. Bridget, hello. Shadowclaw, good morning. Who else is here? Kirsten Scholl over on the X Machine, good morning. The Blakester, hello. Robert Pincus, hello. Who else is here? Rolling. Full Metal Joker, good morning. And Juliet, always seeking her Romeo, good morning. Ossian, good morning, and I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. And apologies if my voice is a little... I didn't realize how froggy it was until I started speaking. I think this is the first time I've said any words today. So, I don't know, does it sound better? Do I sound more alluring with my slightly deeper, froggy voice? I don't think I'm sick. Usually a froggy-ish voice from me indicates the onset of, like, a cold or the flu or something. I hope that's not the case. I don't feel ill, but who knows? Who knows what the days will bring? Holy cats, Faustonia, thank you so much. Appreciate it. The opening song of your Sunday morning live stream puts a smile on my face every time it starts, every single time. Kudos to you. Oh, thank you so much, Faustonia. Yeah, that was the result of... So YouTube maintains a library of songs and sound effects and things that purportedly you are allowed to use in your videos without fear of them being copyright claimed. They are particular, like the music that you're hearing right now in the background, these piano mixes. These are all available, made available by YouTube to creators to use in their videos and such, with seemingly, again, purportedly, no copyright or royalty risk on face. The YouTube's paid for them; they're just free of charge. For the Sunday stream music, I wanted to use, I think it's just called The Morning Song. It's a very, very old song, but there was a rendition on YouTube of it that I thought, well, I'll just use that. And I did. And it got copyright claimed by like Warner Music or something. And I'm just like, wait a second. I was told that I could safely use this. And I was so like not willing to re-roll the dice on finding a different version of it or something that I just made my own. And there you go. That's the story. It's a very exciting story, I know. But that's why. So, Morning Mood. Yes, that's what it was. Keeper Dam, Morning Mood. Ebony Williams. Good morning. Nice to see you. Tyler F. Good morning. Somnambulation. You're no Undoomed, but you're getting there. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Speaking of which, I was on Undoomed's channel last night, talking for a while with him about different things and news and such, and then pop culture when Polly from Latino Slant and Tom Connors showed up. It turned into kind of a mini Midnight's Edge at that point, as, you know, pop culture, entertainment, and such are their bailiwick. But that was fun, and it's always so bizarre to me. And I always say this to him: it's like it's an honor to be on your channel or something, because, you know, I was a fan of Undoomed before I started doing YouTube. Undoomed is like one of the OGs in my little world, so it's really cool to get invited on his show. Mr. X, good morning. Brian Morissette, good morning. And Mr. Hyde, good morning. All right, so we got a few things to go through today. A lot of stuff happened this week. There's a whole bunch of news that happened, obviously, this week that I'm not going to touch on because, for the most part, I'd like to keep things relatively light. And a lot of really sad things happened this week, and I don't think there's anything that I could add to those stories that hasn't already been covered by other places. So let's just talk about some relatively fun things. And I say relatively because that's the safest way to go sometimes. It all depends on perspective. Let's start off with some news in D.E.I. Because why not? How about some more schools getting rid of their D.E.I. programs? At least on the surface. Let me turn down the music here a little bit. I think it's a little loud. I could be mistaken. Just to make sure. All right. Missouri State University to get rid of DEI programs amid growing pressure from state leaders. Oh boy. Missouri State University will roll back on certain DEI programs due to increased pressure from state leaders. Missouri State University President Richard B. Williams, alongside the university's Board of Governors, announced changes to certain DEI-related programs on campus. The changes include: 1. The Office of Inclusive Engagement will be eliminated. Employees who were faculty before their current positions will return to their respective colleges, and the remaining staff will move to open positions across the university. Okay, so you're getting rid of the department, or the office, but the people who ran it are still there? Doing what? Quote, 38% of our budget comes from the state, Williams said. Oh, you mean it comes from federal funding? Oh. For us to continue providing a quality education to our students, we must align with the expectations established by state leadership. In other words, the hand that feeds you is slowly closing unless you align with, I don't know, federal law. I know, it's crazy. That whole Title VI thing, it's a rough one. Title VI and the 14th Amendment, I know. In addition, 1, the Collaborative Diversity Conference and Inclusive Excellence Awards Gala are eliminated as university-supported events. This year's events are canceled. Oh no, the Participation Award Ceremony. The Glorified Participation Award Ceremony. Oh no. We could actually put that money into, I don't know, buying books or something, or getting better teachers. Secondly, the university will continue to evaluate how to be in full compliance with the state and federal mandates. Well, good. Constant re-examination of your practices and your motivations is good, especially when rampant discrimination and exclusion have been endemic for years without any checks on it. Glad to hear. Quote, despite these changes, Missouri State will continue to support all individuals on our campus, ensuring respect, fairness, open dialogue, and shared opportunity, Williams said. Well, you weren't doing that with DEI in place. Just be honest with yourselves. Come on. At this point, just be honest. Now, of course, as it says in here, they shut down the departments, but everybody who is running them, and who I have to assume one or more of them are true believers in this stuff, will still be in positions at the college or colleges. So be ever vigilant. Be ever vigilant. If you happen to be a student at one of these schools or somehow, adjacent to them in some way, shape, or form, pay attention to what they do, not just what they say, but what they are doing. When one of these, whether it's a college or one of these businesses that are divesting themselves from DEI publicly, once in a while, take a look at their quarterly reports, see what kind of metrics they're using to judge success on things. They may not be able to crow about it as much anymore, but if they really believe in it, they will find ways to get it in there, and you got to be wary of it. But in that same vein, let's look at one other college that has decided to get rid of DEI, and that would be West Virginia University. WVU replacing DEI division. Uh-oh, here we go. And this is what I'm talking about. Not getting rid of it. I misspoke. They're replacing. They're changing the label on the can. Are the contents the same? WVU replacing DEI division with Division of Campus Engagement and Compliance. DEC. Goes from DEI to DEC, Division of Engagement and Compliance. I'm surprised it didn't say like Division of Campus Engagement and Impact or something. West Virginia University is restructuring some of its divisions to comply with Governor Patrick Morrisey's executive orders. Executive Order number 3-25 removes diversity, equity, and inclusion from state-funded programs, including DEI positions and education. WVU announced Friday that its Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has closed, and a new unit called the WVU Division of Campus Engagement and Compliance has been established, according to Morrisey's office. WVU said the new division will, quote, focus on ensuring the university adheres to federal and state guidance and fulfilling the needs of our campus community, including compliance with Title IX and the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is its primary focus, unquote. How about compliance with Title VI? I know it's crazy. Why doesn't this come up? Title IX certainly is part of it, but let's talk about Title VI. Additional guidance will be released by WVU, quote, once the university's review is complete. Well, who's manning this new division? Is it the same people who are manning the DEI office? In a press release, Governor Morrisey said the change is a, quote, big win for the Mountain State. Remains to be seen. Quote, we're going to keep going. This is just the beginning of our effort to root out DEI. That's going to happen more and more in the weeks and months ahead, Morrisey said. As of Friday morning, the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion page on WVU's website was still active. Oh, well, let's see if it's still active right now, because now it's Sunday morning. Nope, it's still there. It's still there. I'll show that to you just for reference purposes here. Yeah, so as of right now, on Sunday morning, February 2nd, Groundhog Day, the DEI page is still up and live at WVU. The Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion provides university-wide education, support, accountability, and leadership on issues relating to diversity to the campus and community. The Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion exists because WVU is always striving to create the safe, diverse, welcoming community we all deserve, so long as your skin color matches with our personal desires. That's all. Well, there you go. That's our latest in DEI in education. So, Ebony Williams, whatever happened to letting diversity happen organically? Well, you see, it's not happening fast enough, Ebony. We have to engineer it. And we also have to redefine what diversity is. It's not about having different people around. It's about tokenism. They don't want to admit that because that'd make it sound bad. And DEI is not bad. It's good. It's good because I'm told it's good. Let's see. Asan, this is not how I wanted Deck to make a comeback. DEI. Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't know if I've just quoted something that's terrible, like even more terrible. I need to know. Mr. Hyatt, accountability is like a sulfuric acid bath to these people. Well, I've asked this on. We've watched many panel discussions and promotional videos over the years where they talk big about, it's to hold people accountable. And I'm like, accountable for what exactly? For not hitting your racial quota? And what does accountability look like? I've asked that any number of times because, and I don't know that I've ever actually heard a clear answer. Like if a company has a DEI program and they have a goal of 25 by 2025, we'll do the Air Transport Association kind of thing. They have to have 25% female leadership by 2025. Well, if a company or a constituent doesn't achieve that, how exactly are they held accountable? What consequences befall somebody for not hitting their racial quota mark or their gender quota mark? I don't know. I've always wondered that. Did you fire them? Like, well, you're the executive of this division and we didn't hit these marks, so now you're going to lose your job. Like, I've never quite gotten an answer on that one. Secret Vampire Heiress, good morning. Hope you're doing well. But, yeah, Jill Powers, Scribelight, it shouldn't be surprising that these grifters change the rhetoric to fool us, but that they haven't taken down the DEI from their main website. University IT are notorious for neglect. Well, I've been wondering about some of this stuff. Is it neglect or is it resistance by insiders? I like in similar tones with the recent Trump declaration of turning off federal funding to a bunch of organizations and things. I have to wonder if some of the turnoffs that went outside the boundaries of the actual order were done just as a sort of protest, like, well, if you're going to say this, then I guess we have to turn everything off. Folding our arms and just sort of like, let's see how you like that kind of thing. I don't know. So it's either, reluctance on their part or just, if you could believe it, perhaps incompetence. But who knows where that could come from? No, nobody knows where that could come from in a situation where you have an organization pushing meritless decision-making. But speaking of decision-making, I think demonstrably bad decision-making, both in having such an event in the first place and also perhaps the participants who think it's a good idea. Let's talk about FatCon. Yes, FatCon, not BatCon, if it was like Batman or like those who have an appreciation for nocturnal flying rats. No, FatCon 2025 celebrates fat joy and liberation in Seattle. Well, I'm not surprised by the location, given Chaz Chop and elsewise from the past. Summer of Love, not quite yet. Joy and liberation. Over 300 attendees have gathered in Seattle for FatCon 2025, the largest. I'm a third grader. I really am a third grader sometimes. The largest fat convention on the West Coast. How many of them are there? Celebrating fat bodies and lives over a 3-day event. Oh, a 3-day. I think this. Does that mean it's still going on? I think this started on Friday, right? I guess so. Oh, it's happening right now, guys. As we speak, the tail end of FatCon. Following its inaugural year in 2024. Okay, so it's brand new, effectively. Okay, the convention returns with more than 30 hours of workshops and panels. Workshops on becoming fat? Like, what? Okay. Workshops and panels, a marketplace tailored for fat consumers. I'm just thinking of, like, Vendors Row just being full of people with, like, donuts and lard. I know. I'm obviously fat phobic and I'm a terrible person. Anyway, tailored for fat consumers and a fashion exhibit featuring extended size clothing. Oh, is that above plus size? I don't keep track of these things. So you've got like, I guess, regular size, extra large, extra large, plus size, and now extended size. The event also includes keynote speakers who are at the forefront of fat liberation. Mix Pucks Aplenty. Is that a Superman villain? Mix Pucks Aplenty, the convention director, explained the concept of fat joy, saying, quote, "Fat joy is the radical idea that I can love myself at this size or any size, that I am happy and fulfilled in the body that I have. Love and joy are revolutionary acts in the face of a culture that tells us we're simultaneously too much and not enough." No, it's not a culture, it's basic health science. FatCon was created to provide a safe space for the fat community to connect, free from societal constraints and expectations. The organizers explain these constraints often dictate which bodies are considered beautiful or what activities fat bodies can engage in, and equate fat with illness or inability. It all depends on the proportion, and I don't think it's what society dictates fat bodies can engage in as far as activities. It's a matter of stamina. Holy cats, I tell you. Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. Dumb question. Does the Richter scale register when the attendees move around the convention? I don't know. I don't know how prone Seattle is to earthquakes. I think they're on the Ring of Fire, aren't they? No, wait, well, that's volcanoes. But still, volcanoes, tectonic plates. So, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Thank you, Kiro Soldier. Okay, quote, "FatCon is a convention where all fat humans are welcome to celebrate our bodies and lives. What is fat joy? Taking joy in being fat." Oh, man. Taking joy in being fat is different for every person. But for many, fat joy is simply being unapologetically ourselves in a culture that insists we should feel shameful for existing in the body we have, said Becky Wilson, the marketing director of FatCon. No, you don't have to feel ashamed about it, but you also have to be honest with yourself. It's not a healthy way to be. It is demonstrably not a healthy way to be. Your knees will tell you very quickly that this was not how you were designed to exist in a healthy fashion. Your heart will tell you. Go with your heart. Let me put it that way. Quote, "Holding a convention for fat humans that is not centered around weight loss or eliminating obesity is incredibly countercultural." It's also countersensical. But anyway, in its first year, FatCon 2024 attracted vitriol and hatred online, as well as backlash here in Seattle. Celebrating demonstrably unhealthy behavior? Yeah, I can imagine. The convention hotel and board of directors had to bring in additional security to protect attendees of the convention from aggressive media and gawkers. Okay. You want the attention, though, right? In addition, we are firmly in the age of GLP-1s, where every person of every size is encouraged to get onto Ozempic or Wegovy. Simply existing in a fat body shouldn't be a rebellion, but it is, Wilson added. Well, yeah, you know how teenagers will often rebel against their parents simply because they feel like their parents are being too restrictive. And of course, every situation's unique. But oftentimes, parents are putting those restrictions on their kids because hopefully, I don't know how common it is these days, but hopefully they know better. And I get it, though. Some people have to learn their own lesson. You can give somebody all the good advice in the world that is factually true and demonstrably beneficial, but sometimes you have to learn your own lesson from your own mistakes. I get that. But being incredibly overweight, it's not a rebellion. It isn't. Miranda. Uh-oh. Not our Miranda. Miranda, the creator behind Softcore. Should I be reading this? A plus-size alternative clothing brand featured in the convention's marketplace, shared her perspective on fat joy. Boy, it means something to everybody, doesn't it? Quote, "Fat joy to me is living a life unapologetically in my fat body. Everything society tells me I couldn't achieve because of my size, I have achieved. I've walked in fashion shows. I pay my bills with money I make from my plus-size brand." Well, then I guess you have a vested interest in maintaining a consumer base. "I'm in a long-term committed relationship with someone who loves me. These are all things that society tells us that we cannot do while fat, and I love the fat life I live," she said. Yeah, but riddle me this, Batman. Is being demonstrably overweight a healthy way to live? Can you run a mile without stopping? Or just walk fast? How are your knees going to be in 10 or 15 years? How about, and here's the other one, how about all of the plus-size models in recent years, or plus-size celebrities that celebrated their bodies as they were? Body positivity left, right, and center. And then all of a sudden, one day they just found, I'm going to start losing weight. Even Lizzo is on a weight loss plan. And why do you think that is? I think it might be because at some point, Lizzo and Tess Holliday and some of these other fat celebrities had a honest conversation with their doctor after experiencing something or seeing signs of something going wrong in their life that would either shorten its duration or severely diminish the quality thereof. Just saying. FatCon 2025 also hosts a sibling event at the Triple Door called Fattleskew Fest Northwest. Fattleskew? The 3-night... sorry, Fatlesk Fest. Oh, good gravy. The 3-night burlesque show features a different cast of performers every night because the stamina to do it 3 nights in a row just doesn't exist. With a mission to, quote, disrupt perceptions surrounding burlesque while providing an art, culture, and entertainment experience through a fat liberation and body positive lens. For those unable to attend in person, and I can't even imagine why that might be, FatCon 2025 offers virtual participation, allowing people to watch the opening ceremonies, keynote speakers, and the fashion show finale from home. Registration can be done here. Oh man, if I'd known that ahead of time, I could have captured the opening keynote speeches and things. I wonder if they'll post them online after the fact. Yeah, so there you go. FatCon 2025. Can't wait to see what happens with FatCon 2026. Yeah, so that's a thing. That's a thing. Blue-eyed scream. Triple door. They can't fit through one door? Oh. Oh. Fat burlesque. Yes, I eventually got it. I was like, Fattleskew? What is that? Oh. Okay. Yeah. Jill Powers. No, I can't. I have severe arthritis in my lower back and hips. I can barely walk now. Yeah. It just, if you're choosing not to do something to keep your body in functioning shape, some people, they don't have a choice. Like my father. He is sick. He has between the cancer treatments and his illness and what it does to his appetite and everything else, he is very, very thin. Right? It's like, this is sort of the opposite situation. Like, dude, eat a sandwich or something. He would if he could. He'd put on some weight if he could, but he's not. His body will not let him. And some people have conditions or situations where it's very, very difficult. But at the end of the day, you have to make a conscious effort to change how much you're putting in your body and how much you're moving around. Eat less, move around more. Are all of us going to have, chiseled Grecian bodies or something? No, most people don't. But the long-term well-being and quality of your life will be improved if you weigh less against your joints and your heart and everything else. It's just simple. It's not. Anyway, I could go on. K. Roberts, I had to cut muscle weight after retirement just to operate and recover on damaged nerves and torn tendons. I don't see how any doctor can help a whale on a gurney. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, there's something, and yeah, again, it's not just about fat, it's about weight. All right. So, Walter Tomaszewski, the triple door T3D is between 3rd and 2nd on Union Street. It is across from Benaroya Hall, home to the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, where I work. Wait, you work at the orchestra, Walter Tomaszewski. Are you a conductor? Do you pull the cord to blow the whistle on the train? Did you see what I did there? I saw what I did. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. There's FatCon. All right, well, let's go from feast to famine after a fashion. This story comes to us from the Discord server, and I think it was Shadow Aria who sent it over. This is an interesting. If this is accurate, this is interesting. California considers letting wildfire victims sue oil companies for damages. I'm morbidly curious to know, what did oil companies have to do with an absolute failure of infrastructure and pre-planning by state and city government ahead of the wildfires? Let's find out. Oil and gas companies would be liable for damages caused by climate change-related disasters in California under legislation introduced Monday by 2 Democratic lawmakers. Yeah, guys, see, the Santa Ana winds were completely... You could not have predicted something like that. I heard this so much in the opening days of the wildfires. No one could have predicted this. No one could have foreseen this coming. Except that the Santa Ana winds have a name for a reason. Also, you know what it reminded me of? And this is a real deep cut. It reminded me entirely of Condoleezza Rice in front of Congress saying nobody could have imagined planes flying into buildings. Except for 6 months some odd earlier in the pilot episode of the Lone Gunman TV show, where that was the exact element of the plot, and specifically the World Trade Center. Except for the book Debt of Honor from Tom Clancy, where an airliner was flown into the Capitol. But yeah, no one could have imagined. No one could have imagined something like this happening. A wildfire in California? The Santa Ana winds and dry conditions leading to fires? No one could have seen this coming. So obviously it's not anybody's fault here. It's an act of God, right? And to be fair, sure, you can't stop a wildfire, but you can know that they are common. You know what the conditions are that lead up to them. And you can, at the very least, do everything possible to mitigate the scope of such a disaster. But now, at least 2 Democratic lawmakers are trying to completely pass the buck and say, oh, it's climate change that did this. It wasn't bone-dry conditions combined with high winds. No, it was climate change. The proposal, introduced by 2 Democratic lawmakers, you said, will you name them, claims that the oil industry intentionally deceived the public about the risks of fossil fuels on climate change that now have intensified storms and wildfires. and caused billions of dollars in damage in California. Such disasters have also driven the state insurance market to a crisis where companies are raising rates, limiting coverage, or pulling out completely from regions susceptible to wildfires and other natural disasters, supporters of the bill said. Why are they susceptible? Are they susceptible simply because of the nature of the conditions? Or is it the cost-risk analysis of an area that is susceptible to such things, but where steps have not been taken by those in charge to mitigate the scope of such expected disasters? You know, water pressure in hydrants, clearing debris from areas that are susceptible to wildfires. If these things are not done, all you're doing is increasing the risk. And insurance companies are effectively glorified gamblers. And they don't want to take on any more risk than they possibly have to. But no, it's the oil companies' fault. You know, all those oil companies that were operating in the forests around Palisades. Under state law, utility companies are liable for damages if their equipment starts a wildfire. Oh, did oil company equipment start this wildfire? The same idea should apply to oil and gas companies, said Robert Harrell, executive director of the Consumer Federation of California, quote, for their massive contribution to these fires driven by climate change. What piece of oil company or gas company equipment caused the fire? Robert Harrell. You can't do it abstractly. Just say, oh, the very existence of these companies and what they do through, you know, butterfly wings caused the fire to happen. Which piece of equipment started the fire? The bill aims to alleviate the financial burdens on victims of such disasters. I think it aims to alleviate the responsibility of state and local government. I think that's where the financial burden is looking to alleviate. On victims of such disasters and insurance companies by allowing them to sue the oil industry to recoup their losses. It would also allow the Fair Access to Insurance Requirements Plan, created by the state as a last resort for homeowners who couldn't find insurance, to do the same so it doesn't become insolvent. Yeah, this bill aims to make the oil companies pay for state and local failures. That's what this does. If approved, California would be the first state in the U.S. to allow for such lawsuits, according to the author. I don't think it's going to be approved. I mean, California has surprised me many, many times in the past, but given current circumstances, this seems fairly transparent as dodging responsibility. Quote, we are all paying for these disasters, but there is one stakeholder that is not paying, the fossil fuel industry, which makes the product that is fueling the climate change. State Senator Scott Wiener. Oh, Scott Wiener, who authorized the bill. This is the guy who wanted to decriminalize people who infected other people with HIV knowingly. This guy really does represent California. Like the worst possible extremes of leftist California, Scott Wiener. If you don't know about Scott Wiener, I can't give a full biography here. But really, look this guy up and see some of the things that he's promoted, that he's authored, that he's championed over the last, 5 or 7 years or so. It's... Now this all makes sense. The new measure is bound to face major backlash from oil and gas companies. Well, yeah... especially if you try to hold somebody accountable for something they had nothing to do with, who have faced a string of defeats in California in recent years as the country's most populous state started to shift policy priorities to address climate change. Well, even if this thing passes, let's say it does pass. And again, it is California, so it's possible. The first case for the Palisades wildfires that goes before a judge in suing an oil company, he's going to take one look at it and dismiss it. You can't just say, oh, in the abstract, amorphous nature of what the oil and gas companies do, therefore wildfire. No, you have to draw a direct line. You have to have evidence of wrongdoing or malfeasance or incompetence or something. Just, oh, because of what they do, it promotes the possibility. No. The Western States Petroleum Association, representing oil and gas companies in 5 states, already signaled it will fight the bill. No surprise. President and CEO Catherine Rahis said state lawmakers are using the LA fires to scapegoat the industry. Yeah, in this case, you guys are making the oil and gas companies legitimate victims of your stupidity. That's really something. That's really something. This is why you don't want someone to have something befall them that they did not earn. All right? This is why Schadenfreude has to come from someone who has done something to themselves effectively. If you hold someone to account for something they did not do, even if that person or that entity is in some way, shape, or form demonstrably terrible, you have turned that person or entity into a legitimate victim of your vindictiveness. It's counterproductive. If oil and gas companies have done something wrong, hold them to account for things that they have done wrong. Supporters, whoever they are, said the measure will also help stabilize the state's insurance market by allowing insurers to recover some of the costs after a natural disaster from oil companies. Yeah, when it's provably the fault of oil companies, sure, which will prevent increased rates from being passed on to policyholders. The bill is supported by several environmental and consumer protection groups. Why am I not surprised? All right, because it was the environmental and consumer protection groups that made the conditions occur or encouraged the conditions to be in place that allowed these fires to be as bad as they were. Diverting water, tying up funds with other things, not clearing the land because that would somehow harm the environment. The legislation comes as California begins the long process for multiple deadly fires that ripped through sections of Los Angeles and burned more than 12,000 structures earlier this month. The fires were named the most destructive in the modern history of the city of Los Angeles and estimated to be the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. Lawmakers last week voted to spend $2.5 billion to help the area rebuild. I wonder, out of that $2.5 billion, which is just the beginning, mind you, how much it would have cost to shore up the water delivery infrastructure in Los Angeles, and as well to build those other reservoirs and fire stations and so on that they were supposed to have built years ago. I wonder if the cost of all that would have been less than $2.5 billion. Dozens of U.S. municipalities, as well as 8 states and Washington, D.C., have sued oil and gas companies in recent years over their role in climate change, according to the Center for Climate Integrity. Those suits are still making their way through the courts. Oh, so you don't have any success stories? Including one filed by California more than a year ago against some of the world's largest oil and gas companies, claiming they deceived the public about the risks of fossil fuels. Scientists overwhelmingly agree the world needs to drastically cut the burning of coal, oil, and gas to limit global warming. Well, then you better talk to China. You better talk to India. You better talk to some of these countries that have little to no restrictions on their use of fossil fuels. There was that. There's a great little speech by Konstantin Kisin a couple of years ago. I think it was at Oxford, and he was like, if the entirety of the UK sank into the sea tomorrow, it would have absolutely no effect on the amount of fossil fuels being used or greenhouse gases or carbon or anything else, because the major players in this are other countries that have nothing to do with the UK as far as their direct economy or industry. You're going to have to tell China to turn off the spigot, and India, and multiple countries in Africa. You'd have to do that. It's not going to happen. That's because when fossil fuels are burned, carbon dioxide forms and is released, which accounts for over 3/4 of all human-caused greenhouse gases. California is also working to persuade insurers to continue doing business in the state by giving insurers more latitude to raise premiums in exchange for more issuing policies in high-risk areas. You could make those areas less high risk by building the infrastructure to work against forest fires when they happen. Citing ballooning risks of climate-driven natural disasters, it was the Santa Ana winds and dry conditions. Neither of these two things are alien to California. There's a reason why those winds have a name, because they are regular. They are known. It's not... It wasn't a rogue wave or something. 7 of the top 12 insurance companies doing business in California in 2023 either paused or restricted new business in the state. The state now allows insurers to consider climate change when setting their prices and will soon also allow them to pass the costs of reinsurance to California consumers. Yeah, so effectively the people that all these organizations and agencies and representatives were supposed to protect in the first place. Well, now the costs have been passed on to them. They don't have to... No. Nothing befalls the people who are responsible for taking care of and protecting people. No. No, the consumers will pay for it because of bad planning and incompetence. That's great. That's great. Darren Root makes you wonder, how still fossil fuel? I thought we were already found all the dinosaurs. Yeah, a few years ago, I remember seeing a documentary or a couple out there about peak oil, how we've already passed peak oil, and it's all downhill from here. Obviously, there is a finite amount of oil out there, right? The planet is not infinite. But supposedly, I think there was something like 10 years ago, Saudi Arabia was supposed to have gone bankrupt by now because they ran out of oil. Maybe that'll happen tomorrow, but I was told for a long time that we've already crossed that threshold. Faustonia. Okay, so no gasoline, diesel, or jet fuel for California. Let's see how long that would last. Yeah. California, put your money where your mouth is. And by the way, when you go all electric, riddle me this, where does all that electricity come from? It's not coming from wind farms. It's not coming from solar panels. Yeah. And the construction of those electric cars, and where does the elements to make the batteries in the electric cars come from? See, it's kind of an unknowable truth. You're going to have to take to get, and you're going to have to take it from the earth because that's all we've got. Let's see. Mr. Hyde, oil was put here by spacefaring dinosaurs from Venus. I think I need to be like, what is it, level 8 or something to know that truth about reality? Is that what it is? I forget the exact term. I have to achieve the highest level of enlightenment before I can look upon the sacred texts to know that particular truth. But now here's a particular truth. This is a little bit off the beaten path from my usual coverage of things, but I have a mild, and I will emphasize mild, connection to this story. Ambitious Fallout Nuevo Mexico mod canceled to prioritize developers' mental health and face reality. Continuing forward simply isn't sustainable. Yeah, so for those of you who are not gamerfied inclined, there's a series of games out there called Fallout that depict a post-apocalyptic sort of sci-fi America. And they were very popular in the mid-90s. They've had several sequels over the years. Very popular game. Its most popular offering, I think, is probably its sequel called Fallout New Vegas, which takes place in a, post-apocalyptic Nevada and near Las Vegas. And it's very much inspired by movies like A Boy and His Dog or A Six-String Samurai. If you haven't seen Six-String Samurai, find it. It's really cool. You can probably find it on like Tubi or something by now, but Six-String Samurai is really fun. Anyway, over the years, there have been several fan-created modifications, some very, very large for some of these games, to depict other areas, by conception, in the world that take place in this same setting. There have been some very successful ones recently, like Fallout London, which was a completely fan-made mod, which I think rivals a lot of what the actual company Bethesda puts out for its own product in recent years. And a project that I was excited to see was this one, Fallout Nuevo Mexico, which takes place both, I think, in Mexico City and southern United States, sort of crossing over things. So a post-apocalyptic look at these areas with this culture and taking place in tandem with Fallout New Vegas. I was so excited about this that when the call went out to find possible voice actors to participate, I immediately auditioned. I didn't get a call back, but I had a nice communication or two with the person running it. So when this news came out the other day that it was canceled, after putting out a trailer, after seeing all the work they had done and everything else prior to this, I got kind of sad. I was like, oh, that's too bad. You know, because again, these things are all fan-made. They're not supported by the company. They're all done on, shoestring or zero budget by just people who love these games in this setting. So let's read a little bit about this. The modder behind Fallout Nuevo, Mexico has canceled the project to prioritize their mental health and face reality. Following in the footsteps of Fallout London, Fallout Nuevo Mexico was intended to be a rework of Fallout New Vegas in an all-new game set in Mexico City. However, a statement from modder Zapshock on the mod's Discord server confirmed the project has been canceled. Quote, "This project has been my passion, my obsession, and a huge part of my life for years," wrote Zapshock. Quote, "I've poured thousands of hours into it, late nights, early mornings, and everything in between." And by the way, if you look up Fallout Nuevo Mexico on YouTube, you can find the trailers for it, both in English and Spanish. And I mean, just from the bits and pieces you see in these trailers and these previews, the amount of work is just incredible. It's such a shame. Part of me hopes somebody else picks this up, but I don't know if that'll happen. They continued, quote, "But as much as I love this project, I need to prioritize my mental health and face reality. The team is small, less than 4. The workload enormous." Can I pause this little video thing? Okay. "The workload enormous and the costs ahead, both financial and personal, are too great. Continuing forward simply isn't sustainable for me and everyone involved, including voice actors." Zapshock described the decision as painful but necessary and thanked the community for supporting the project until now. A trailer for the ambitious project was released last October, which revealed the scope of this new wasteland. The ruined Mexico City would have formed a battleground for multiple factions and would include areas like the decaying colonia of Chapultepec and the submerged canals of Xochimilco. I'm a dumb gringo, pardon me. Comparisons were quickly made with Fallout London, a similarly sized mod released for free on GOG last year. It became the, quote, "fastest redeemed game on the platform." That project, though, wasn't without its problems, launching as it did in shaky condition with performance issues. Could Bethesda itself ever release a Fallout game outside of America? Not according to Todd Howard. Todd Howard is the CEO of Bethesda. Quote, "Part of the Fallout shtick is on the Americana naivete," he said in an interview last year after the success of the Fallout TV show. "For us right now, it's okay to acknowledge some of these other areas, but our plans are predominantly keep it in the U.S." Which I don't have a problem with. I mean, yeah, Fallout was always very uniquely an American commentary or takeoff or satire, so that's fine. But yeah, some of these side projects, it's just a shame. It's like, because when you look at the trailer, you look at some of the other promotional material for it, it's obvious that just so much work went into it, and it feels like it was ready to go in a way. And I know that it probably wasn't. These are all probably just slices of things, but man, you can tell somebody really put a lot of work and thought into it, and have it stop short. And I get it. I can't even imagine the kind of pressure you put on yourself for something like this when there is no payback. Remember, this is all fan-made. It can't be official. They can't charge for it. They can't make a profit off of it. It's not endorsed by the company. Bethesda's always been relatively supportive of the modding community, even if sometimes they take advantage of it or plagiarize it in some ways. But otherwise, yeah. So, just a shame. I was looking forward to this one. I was hoping it was going to turn out well. Let's see, Darren. I wonder if they use Randall the Ghoul. Well, I was wondering if there was going to be some connection between that one ghoul you find in Fallout New Vegas over at the radio station. If his backstory was somehow going to be connected to this in some way, I think probably, but I don't know. If they could get Danny Trejo back to do 5 minutes of dialogue or something, that'd be great. But Advocast Diablo, if they made it outside the U.S., they would get shit for it anyways. Bethesda? Probably. The hardcore fans, I don't know. I guess it depends on what they did and how they did it. If they did it outside the U.S., though, here's the thing. And Bethesda's already shown this. They can't come up with something new. They have to bring in things that don't make any sense to the very setting, but because it's familiar to people, like the Brotherhood of Steel. They keep, like, retconning stuff into existence to justify how a very specific faction in California somehow ends up in different places around the country at time frames that make no sense. That kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I'm talking nerdery about Fallout lore now, so I'll stop. But those of you that know, you know, because you know. Let's see. Darren Root. Honestly, I'd like a Fallout Australia game. It's not Fallout. There's a post-apocalyptic Australian RPG. It's not called The Outback. What was it called? It's like a Broken Road or something. It's a CRPG sort of top-down kind of thing. It's very Fallout in that way, like original Fallout. I think it's called Broken Roads or Broken Road. It should be on Steam. I can't attest to its quality. I've never played it, but I know that it exists. So you might take a look at that maybe. Fallout belongs to the Nords. Yeah, like a Norwegian Fallout. Like what happened to the Scandinavian countries in the Fallout universe? Did they all go back to like the old ways? Mad Max. Yeah, Mad Max. You got Mad Max, Boy and His Dog. What else? Like I say, Six String Samurai. As far as books go, you've got things like A Canticle for Leibowitz. If you guys haven't heard of A Canticle for Leibowitz, definitely check that. It's a very depressing but like funny book from years and years. Like I think it was written like the 50s or the 40s or something. Imagining a United States long after a cataclysm. And sort of like the confusion over bits and pieces found from the previous civilization. It's something else. What else I was going to say? Oh, there's a sort of pre-apocalypse movie I'd like to recommend. It's called The Rover, and it stars Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson of all people. And I think it came out like 10 years ago or something. And it sort of depicts an Australia after things have gone downhill. So it's quasi pre-apocalypse, but also like kind of apocalyptic. But it's not Mad Max-ish in that kind of like cartoony way. It's very, very down to earth, so to speak. And I tell you, Robert Pattinson gets a lot of flack for doing Twilight and other things, but you watch him in that movie, that guy can act. And I've said this before, he is so good at creating voices, like actual ways of speaking for his characters that make them so unique that it's essentially a mask. So between The Rover and The Lighthouse and what's coming up with his new movie, Mickey 17 or whatever, yeah, I mean, it's always Robert Pattinson, but he makes completely unique characters. So credit to him. Fallout Texas would be awesome. There was, and I'm pulling from my memory here, I recall there being a project or an intention to create something like Fallout Lone Star. And I don't know if that was a real thing or something that somebody was talking about, or maybe it was like a fan mod that somebody was working on. But yeah, there was some desire or intent to make something like Fallout Lone Star, which I think would be a great setting. If Bethesda really wanted to expand the universe, if you could, I don't know if you can now, bring back the team that made Fallout New Vegas, if they haven't gone completely woke by now, because God knows they probably have, but do a Fallout Texas, right? Or something like that. That'd be great. Well, I mean, it has the potential to be great. Let me put it that way. Brian Morissette. It is a good read. Canticle for Leibowitz? Is that it? Okay, yeah, Canticle for Leibowitz. It's something else. Especially for the era in which it was written, and all of the you can tell that Fallout took a lot of inspiration from what was going on in that. Shadowclaw. Robert Pattinson's a decent actor. I kind of like him as Batman. I think he's a good actor who got handed a meh Batman film. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You know, you can have a really great actor who's just handed a bad project or a project with enough problems that kind of detracts from it. I liked the Gotham City they built, like the universe of Gotham for that movie, and by extension, the Penguin series was really good in relative terms. I thought it had too many endings. It had like at the very end of the series, had too many like final confrontation things. Felt like it was padding. But in the overall, I really like the Penguin series and sort of the world that it set up. I'm not sure that the Batman they made or the Riddler didn't. I don't know. There's just some interpretations of those characters. Like, you don't have to go so bonkers with them. They're established characters. People want to see these characters done right. And seeing a, screaming, yelling Riddler, I don't know. The Riddler's dressed up more like Hush and acting more like a terrorist. I was like, no. Anyway, that just might be me. Shadowclaw, I had issues with if you don't get when it comes to Batman, if you don't get the villains right, Batman's fairly static, right? I don't need to know Batman so much. Batman's fairly easy to understand. He's straightforward. He's the good guy. Yeah, he operates in the shadows and everything else, and you want to see him do the right thing and be challenged sometimes with the morality of what he's doing versus, the law and working outside the law. I get that. That's great. But really, you don't have a hero without a compelling villain, and Batman's rogues gallery has been firmly established. You can do variations on how they operate a little bit, how they behave maybe. But the core is there, and if you don't respect the core of the characters as established, it's not right. Heath Ledger's Joker is one of the best Joker portrayals ever because he took the core of the character and just amped it up a bit, gave it a new twist, but didn't go outside the lines of how that character operates, right? That's what I understand. It is a balancing act. You want to give audiences something new to be interested in. You don't want to necessarily repeat what's been done before, but there are boundaries that establish and maintain a character versus a different character. So if you put a weird face mask and glasses on the Riddler, it's not really the Riddler. It makes you question, like, who is this? When he's just like murdering people and being a terrorist for the sake of being a terrorist half the time, but also having goofy riddles, like, anyway, I could go on about that. I probably could. Faustonia, Robert Pattinson is frankly too scrawny to be Batman. Not his fault though. Yeah, I mean, if they're trying to depict, year one Batman kind of thing, and he's still sort of finding his stride, I could see that. But then in the subsequent films, you'd have to find a way to bulk up Robert Pattinson. And Robert Pattinson just frankly does not have the frame for massive bulk in the long run. Not without some chemical intervention, which I'm pretty sure he would never do. But Random American, the Ritalin, that might make more sense. That might make some more sense. And Mr. Hyde, he's reminding everyone of Jared Leto's Joker because I'm an ass. Oh, here's to remind. Okay, yeah, Jared Leto's Joker. Yeah, not a good Joker. Not a very good Joker. Mark Hamill's Joker and Heath Ledger's Joker. I obviously have a love for Jack Nicholson's Joker, but when it comes down to really representing the overall of the character, on a given day, it's a toss-up between Mark Hamill's Joker and Heath Ledger's. Although I think Mark Hamill probably wins out just for volume. But anyway, I could talk about Batman forever, but that's not really the show. I think the show is about over. Faustonia, Scribe is verifying his coolness cred with Batman talk, honestly. Well, after FatCon, might as well have a little bit of a BatCon to make up for it. Top Batman, Kevin Conroy. Second Lego Batman. Best live action Batman, Pete Holmes. Yeah. He's like, I was just a boy. Yeah, Pete Holmes' Badman skits, especially the one with Superman. That was great. It still makes me laugh every time I see it. If you don't know about that, look up Pete Holmes' Bad Man and just watch his Bad Man skits. They're hilarious. But yeah, Kevin Conroy will always be the best Batman, no matter what. What a cool guy. Like, it's one of those things. There's very few celebrities you hear about who seem like genuinely good people, even behind the scenes. Like, I don't know if it might be that difficult, but to try to name a celebrity that has no baggage that you can come up with, like John Ritter. I always bring up John Ritter because it's like, as far as like saints go within Hollywood and acting and such, there are very few actors you can just sort of name as like, that guy was just a good person overall. Like, no scandals, didn't have any drama, wasn't a diva or anything, just a genuinely good person. You know, like Bill Paxton. I don't think anybody has a bad thing to say about Bill Paxton. You know, R.I.P. Bill Paxton. But anyway, I could go into a review of things like that forever and, you know, just be paddling water, dog paddling the whole time. That's what I meant. Let's see. What else shall we do here before I wrap things up? Oh, yeah. A couple of programming notes. Like I said, I was on Undoom's channel yesterday for a long live stream. About 2 hours for myself, at least, with Undoomed and Tom Connors and Polly from Latino Slant. So if you want to hear me rail on about pop culture stuff and or DEI stuff or some political stuff, like I don't always do that already, by all means, go take a look at that. And tomorrow, Monday, I should be, unless circumstances say otherwise, I should be on the Midnight's Edge in the Morning show to talk about the box office over the weekend, which was probably mostly Dogman. I think Dogman won the box office. I guess we'll find out. And other movie news, Captain America. Maybe I'll get in some Justin Baldoni in there. Maybe I can slip in some Justin Baldoni news or Blake Lively news. Oh boy. And always is Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, is TED Excellence. I'll take a look at another off-brand TED Talk. Also, did you know I have a Discord server? I have a Discord server. Link to the Discord server is in the chat right now. If you'd like to click on that, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you actually watched the stream, are not a bot, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is FatCon. Just say hello, FatCon, and I'll know that you watched the show. Let's see. I think that's everything else. Oh, yeah, I did an ambush stream on Friday night. You can go watch that if you're curious. It was just sort of I was awake and had nothing better to do. But in the course of that, we did watch the first 23 minutes of a discussion amongst DEI executives from Maricopa Community College and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona and a lady from some other Arizona-based organization. I don't remember what it was now. But she reminded me of Bud Millman. It's a long story. If you weren't there for it, you had to be there for it. Anyway, I was just curious, and let me know either on the Discord or in the comments of this. If you were present for that, did you want me to do a part 2 and continue on with that panel discussion? I wasn't really sure if people were interested in me continuing with that. If not, that's fine. But if so, let me know. But outside of that, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today on this beautiful Sunday morning. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or, again, top of the chat box, there's a link to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society donation page. Please take a look at that if you can. Everybody who shared this out on Twitter or are watching on X, hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know what you thought of it on X or otherwise. And on the way out, if you would, leave a like. I'd appreciate it. Or a share. Or if you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Become a scriber. A subscriber is a whole other dynamic that I will not discuss on the air for the sake of this being a family channel. Otherwise, everyone, thank you for joining me. Hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday and weekend. I hope the week ahead of you is bereft of all the stress that we've experienced over this last week with all the news and everything else. But otherwise, everyone, hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.